Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. Today I'm excited to bring you an up-close and personal, in-depth look at the 2015 BMW X5 M. A big shout out and thanks to AutoNation for providing this vehicle for us today. For more information on their dealerships and current inventory, please feel free to check out their website provided in the description box below. As always guys, this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the X5 M. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, and go through performance data, take it on a quick test drive, and show you many of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on in, start it up, let it run. This example features a particularly unique color combination. The exterior is finished in Long Beach blue metallic and contrasted by Mugello red full merino leather interior with plenty of black accents and optional carbon fiber trim. In order to start, just make sure you have the key fob within the interior, put your foot on the brake, then hit the dash mounted button to go. The X5M's new Servotronic variable speed sensing steering combines a rack and pinion design with electric power assistance for greater efficiency when compared to previous hydraulic setups. The M's specific gear ratios are also designed to provide a more direct steering feel and excellent feedback for its class. Overall ratio is 17.9 to 1. It's all routed through an M-specific multifunction 3-spoke sport steering wheel highlighted by supple leather, tricolor cross-stitching, M badge in the bottom, and grip bolsters at 10 and 2. Sending power to all four wheels through BMW's xDrive all-wheel drive system is a newly developed 8-speed M-Steptronic transmission with drive logic. Based on the ZF8HP70, it's designed to deliver performance similar to the M double-clutch transmission with the smoothness of a torque converter automatic. If you take a test drive, you'll immediately notice how much more responsive and rapid the gear changes are going to occur. With its wider ratio spread, it's also allowed for improved fuel economy compared to the previous 6-speed. With the Drive Logic system, the driver is able to select between 3 stages, adapting the transmission for fuel economy, comfort, or sport performance. You can select the stage by a small button behind the electronic gear selector. A confirmation shows up in the speedometer cluster. Of course, an easy-to-use built-in launch control system comes standard. The all-wheel drive system is primarily rear-biased, but it can send all of the torque to the front or rear, constantly adjusting based on road conditions and performance needs. Torque vectoring further adds to sharper turn-ins during acceleration and deceleration, while a 3-mode stability control system works to counteract oversteer and understeer by modulating the brakes and reducing torque as necessary. Each mode, consisting of DSC on, MDM or M dynamic mode, and DSC off, allows for a higher degree of wheel slip and drift potential respectively, with the system intervening only if predetermined limits are exceeded. Turning DSC off gives you full control of the vehicle's behavior and the ability to send the X5M into power oversteer or throttle modulated drifts. Only in extreme scenarios such as significant shifts in lateral acceleration will DSC herd you back in line. In addition to an array of parking sensors, this particular example is a 360-degree camera system, which also includes a backup camera with adaptive guidance lines, obstacle marking, and more. An electronic parking brake with auto hold feature is standard. To the left-hand side, there's an array of buttons from your traction control, parking sensors, camera, and downhill assist. Surrounded by the little silvery trim are your 3 different driving modes, which have 3 different adjustments each. You have throttle adjustment, suspension adjustment, and steering adjustment, all between efficient, sport, sport plus, or comfort sport and sport plus depending on the mode. The M1 M2 buttons allow you to store favorite performance settings for two different drivers. To the left-hand side of the steering column, there's a small button right here that activates a night vision camera that'll pull up in the iDrive system. So let's go ahead and flip on the automatic LED adaptive headlamps, fog lamps, and the hazards. All four windows are fully automatic. And we'll go ahead and check out the exterior. Upon closing the door, the interior will start to chime to let you know it's lost detection of the proximity key fob. For BMW's M division, the very idea of developing an all-wheel drive turbocharged SUV might have been seen as blasphemy at some point, but with the rapidly growing popularity of high-performing SUVs in recent times, such as the Porsche Cayenne Turbo, Mercedes ML63 AMG, and Range Rover Sport Supercharged, BMW M responded by introducing their own batch of competitors, a pair of similar but outwardly distinct models for the 2010 model year, the X5 M and X6 M. The X5, which first launched back in 2000, is currently in its third generation after a complete redesign for 2014. The X6, which BMW markets as a sports activity coupe, was launched back in 2008. It saw some updates in 2013, but it wasn't until this year that an all-new second generation was released. While the X5 is obviously the more sensible choice in terms of practicality, the X6 isn't ashamed to be different, as it pretty much created a new kind of segment. It's one of those love it or hate it kind of things, a very unique vehicle nonetheless that puts a priority on style over function for a more dynamic, if not somewhat polarizing look. BMW has sold over 250,000 X6s since its inception. Even though the X5 still trumps it with over 1.3 million units sold, the X6 has definitely found its niche. One Mercedes is even planning on tapping into with their own variant called the GLE. While the X5 and X6 are essentially the same underneath the skin, we'll be covering the X6 in a separate video to highlight all of its unique nuances. Standard offerings aside, 2015 marks the launch of all new M variants of the X5 and X6, or if you want to get technical, the second generation of these immensely powerful people haulers. Along with adopting the latest styling languages, performance, handling, dynamics, and refinement have all been taken up a notch to create the most capable and entertaining offerings to date. The engine, for the most part, is all new, paired with a more advanced ZF-sourced gearbox like we talked about earlier. Together, they not only create some of the most powerful M models ever, but they also lead to improved economy and reduced emissions. The smoother, more modern styling looks fantastic. In fact, the entire front end is actually shared between the X5 and X6. Moving towards the rear is when they really begin to distinguish themselves. You'll notice the kidney grills are wider and no longer integrated with the hood, meeting up with new headlamps that extend into the fenders. HID adaptive lighting is standard with updated LED halo rings. The optional adaptive LED lighting elements as seen in our test are stunning in person and pair nicely with the standard LED fog lamps. Compared to its predecessor, overall length of the new X5 M grows by 1.7 inches, width shrinks by 0.4 inches, and height drops by 1.8 inches. As you can see, satin aluminum window treatments are also available in addition to satin aluminum roof rails. The rest of the body, especially the sides, roof, and undercarriage, were all designed with the aerodynamics in mind. For example, aero curtains in the front clip help manage airflow around the front wheels. Like before, a bold side crease begins in the fenders, divides the door handles, and meets up at the tail lamps, but now it runs deeper and is more dramatic, paired with additional scallop door elements that extend from the new fender vents. The rear sees similar updates as the front with the LED tail lamps and smoother, more elegant lines. The split tailgate houses a restyled arrow-minded spoiler up top. Unlike the standard X5 and X6, all exterior components of M variants are painted in body color, especially noticeable in the lower front and rear fascias along with the wheel well lip moldings and rockers. Unique exterior elements include a far more aggressive front fascia with huge air intakes to direct air to the twin intercoolers and a combination of low temperature and high temperature radiators to optimize cooling for the engine, engine oil, and transmission oil. A black double bar kidney grille increases airflow, and familiar M twin stalk exterior mirrors smooth air around the A-pillars. The chrome side gills feature the M logo along with air breathers to help evacuate positive pressure in the wheel wells and channel air more effectively. In addition to a smoother, more pronounced set of rockers, an equally aggressive rear fascia finishes off the signature M look with an integral diffuser and quad chrome exhaust tips. The X5 X5M now features asymmetric 21-inch forged aluminum wheels, 1 inch larger in diameter than before. They're 10 inches wide in front and 11.5 inches wide in the rear and wrapped in high-performance Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires, two 85/35s and three 25/30s respectively. Based on its predecessor, I estimate road holding ability to be between 0.9 and 0.95 g of lateral acceleration. Another important element to the M is its unique compound braking package, which consists of cast iron, ventilated and cross-drilled rotors mounted to aluminum hats. The 15.6-inch front and 15.2-inch rear discs are clamped by 6-piston fixed and single-piston floating calipers respectively. Compared to its predecessor, brake pad surface increases by 50% for 2015, while even shaving a bit of weight. With this setup, the X5M is able to stop from 60 miles an hour in approximately 105 feet, which is quite impressive for its size and weight. Of course, as in typical M fashion, the calipers are painted in dark blue metallic, with the front featuring the M logo. Other weight-saving measures include a heavier use of ultra-high tensile steel in the structure amongst the steel unibody, in addition to thermoplastic front fenders, an aluminum hood, and magnesium in the instrument panel support. Comparing raw specs, it seems the new X5M drops about 100 pounds of weight in total. Weight balance subsequently improved to a nearly identical 50.7 and 49.3 between the front and rear respectively. Up front, there's an independent double wishbone suspension with revised geometry and damping to give the M an added handling edge over the standard X5. For example, the upper wishbones feature increased negative camber and optimized camber progression, along with a revised steering pivot axis to increase its cornering force potential and response. More rigid wheel bearings and bushings increase directional stability for the front and rear. Out back, there's an independent integral forward-link rear design that benefits from anti-squat and anti-dive geometry. The M also features firmer suspension tuning, a 10mm or 0.4-inch drop in ride height, and a self-leveling rear air suspension. Active roll stabilization is a system designed to reduce body roll, pitch, and yaw for more neutral handling in the bends. As we discussed earlier, the 3-mode electronically controlled dampers allow the driver to firm or soften up the ride by a push of a button. Overall length is 192.7 inches with a width of 78.1 inches and a height of 67.6 inches, riding on a 115.5-inch wheelbase. Total curb weight, as you see here, is around 5,260 pounds. The 2015 X5M features a new variant of BMW's 4.4-liter twin-power turbo V8. Despite the same layout and displacement as before, it benefits from a host of revisions, including a pair of larger twin-scroll turbochargers. The all-aluminum engine contains double overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, and is constructed using a closed-deck crankcase to allow for greater strength with high cylinder pressures. A forged crankshaft reduces rotating mass for greater response and torque transfer, in addition to new pistons and connecting rods. You'll also find BMW's Valvetronic variable intake valve lift system, which replaces the need for a traditional throttle body, double Vanos variable cam positioning, as well as a high-pressure direct injection system. Compression ratio is rated at 10:1 with a 7,000 RPM redline. Like we saw with the Mercedes-AMG GTS I recently reviewed, both turbochargers are nestled within the V between the cylinder banks, which essentially reverses the flow of gases through the engine from traditional arrangements. The gases are able to travel a much shorter distance to virtually eliminate turbo lag. Cross-bank exhaust manifolds use 4 separate exhaust ducts, 2 from each cylinder bank that merge together, sending a converged stream of gases to drive each turbocharger. It now develops 567 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 553 pound-feet of torque between 2,200 and 5,000 RPM, representing an increase of 12 horsepower and 53 pound-feet of torque over its predecessor. This allows the X5 to accelerate to 60 miles an hour in a blistering 4 seconds, down from 4.5 seconds, all the way to a limited top speed of 155 miles an hour. The exhaust system specific to the M integrates electronically controlled flaps which open and close based on demand and drive mode. It even boasts a more substantial sound than its predecessor. While not as nearly aggressive sounding as an AMG product or a Range Rover Sport Supercharged, it's very distinct. BMW recommends premium fuel for maximum performance, held within a 22.4-gallon fuel tank. EPA estimates range between 14 miles to a gallon in the city and 19 on the highway, averaging around 16 miles to a gallon. Our executive package tester comes with pretty much every option available aside from the rear seat entertainment package. One trick feature is the automatic self-closing doors. Both the X5M and X6M gain all new interiors for 2015 that feature wonderful craftsmanship, combining advanced technology and comfort with stringent attention to detail, the latter of which is some of the best you'll find in this segment. Compared to their predecessors, build quality takes a big leap forward, as does style, which looks more modern and refined. This example features the full Merino leather interior, which wraps every conceivable surface from the doors and center console to the upper and lower portions of the dash. Color accent stitching matches the two-tone hues, while the glossy carbon fiber trim that's highlighted by polished aluminum has more of a premium look than previous matte carbon finishes, while adding a dose of sport. Oak wood and additional aluminum trim are also available if carbon fiber isn't your cup of tea. As far as the seating, the X5 M comes standard with BMW's multi-contour sport seats with a myriad of power adjustments. In addition to your standard reclining and sliding portions, not to mention two-person memory, you also have adjustable thigh support, lateral support, four-way adjustable lumbar, and upper back support. The seats are extremely comfortable, and I love all the different power adjustments. It really adds an extra dose of customizability so it can fit a wider range of individuals. The seats have a ton of grip with big lateral bolsters up top and down below. There's a lot of padding in the seats, and the attention to detail is also quite nice, again with color accent stitching, a black accented leather portion up top, and the M logo embossed on the fixed upper headrest. The seat belts are also fixed. Down below you have a logoed aluminum door sill entry guard, an aluminum kick plate, and a full power tilt telescoping heated steering wheel. The driver's seat has an auto recall function, and the steering wheel has an auto tilt telescoping feature when you power on and off the vehicle to allow for easier ingress and egress. Down at the bottom of the dash you have a small storage cubby. It's lined in felt and of course wrapped in leather, as is the rest of the dash. There's a little black piano veneer underneath the carbon fiber, your lighting controls to the left, an Alcantara headliner, and a full panoramic sunroof.
So let's go ahead and see how she sounds. And we're going to shut her up.
This example is equipped with the optional Bang & Olufsen high-end 5.1 channel surround sound system, consisting of 16 speakers, 16 channel amplification, and 1200 watts of power. 500 watts of the total output is reserved for the two subwoofers. The B&O system also features beautiful aluminum speaker grills and a mid-range that rises up out of the dash when you power on the audio system. In the center console, you'll see a new iDrive controller that's a little bit bigger than before and incorporates a touchpad on top for written commands like with the navigation system. To go between the different menus and submenus, you tip it forward, backward, left, and right, and push down to select an option. All the way around you see the extra buttons for shortcut keys and the main system features. All of those features can be accessed via the main menu like you just saw. It's a 10.2-inch widescreen display, very high res, and it's actually pretty easy to use. There's a whole lot of features built in. I mean, you have satellite radio, HD radio, Bluetooth telephone, navigation, and so much more. The navigation system, I also really like the widescreen display. You can see a whole lot of the map. There's real-time traffic updates, you can put in your destination input, you can split the screen with navigation or vehicle information and say radio and other functions like that, so it's a little bit more customizable than your typical infotainment system. All of the menus are pretty organized in the same way, and once you play with it for a while, it starts to become second nature. Within the vehicle info screen, you can search your owner's manual, kind of learn how to use some of the features. There's some extra sport displays, and I believe there's even a lap timer in there somewhere for the M products. Down at the very bottom, you can check on the status of the xDrive system, or the vehicle's all-wheel drive setup like I talked about earlier. Back in the main menu at the very bottom of the screen, you have these system settings, where you can pretty much customize every aspect of the vehicle, including the mDrive 1 and mDrive 2 that we talked about at the beginning of the video. There you can customize things a little bit more detailed as far as the driving profile of the vehicle, from the throttle, suspension, steering, the gear shift changes, as well as the heads-up display.
You have your side curtain airbags, hands-free Bluetooth microphones to either side, and a grip handle. The visors, wrapped in Alcantara, incorporate vanity mirrors with LED illumination up top and a card holder to the right. The rear view mirror is manually dimming, down below, carrying 3-position garage home link. In the top stack, you have your LED illumination, reading lamps, sunglass container up front, SOS emergency roadside assistance, and the controls for the fully automatic sunroof. It stops at one position here, then you have to hit the button again to retract it all the way, but it opens up quite a lot. Lets a lot of natural light into the interior. When you don't want it open, there's an automatic sunshade you can extend. It's also wrapped in Alcantara. Continuing down the center console, there's a quad-zone electronic automatic climate control system, so it allows independent temperature adjustment for the front and rear occupants. Up front, you have a little bit more customizability. In addition to your temperature to either side, there's one-touch automatic. You can adjust the zones for either side, as well as the fan speed. Max AC in the middle, front and rear defrost, sync, recycling, and 3-stage heated and ventilated seats for the front, in addition to heated rear seats. Down below you have some basic radio controls, including change track, seek, tune, changing the radio modes, the media modes, in-dash CD player, in addition to your preset stations. The leather from the lower portion of the dash also carries into the center console with the red accent stitching, flowing all the way to a split leather-padded center console. You can open either side. It's a pretty decent well. It also houses your media inputs, auxiliary, USB, a 12-volt power outlet, not to mention a little vent right here that cycles in a little bit of air conditioning to keep things in here cool. Up front, you can push this back, revealing 2 cup holders, a lighter, ashtray, and a 12-volt power outlet. And of course, like we talked about, the various drive modes, traction control, turning on and off your parking sensors, activating your camera, and downhill assist. Activating your camera brings up the front view. As far as the steering wheel, on the right-hand side you have various radio modes, hands-free telephone and voice commands. The left-hand side houses your cruise control and your M1 and M2 driving preset parameter functions. The left-hand side stalk houses your driver information system. It shows up at the bottom. You go between your compass, trip computers, speed limit, and date. You also have your automatic high beams and turn signals. To the right-hand side are your automatic rain-sensing windshield wipers that controls from the rear wiper. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and shut her down. And we'll check out the back seat. Alright guys, like we talked about earlier, this has to be one of the coolest looking interiors I've ever seen in this class. I mean, it's beautiful. All the red accents and the color stitching, it ties in so well with the whole M theme. The aluminum accents, the carbon fiber trim, it's a very cool, very nicely put together package. Overall comfort is actually really good. I was expecting it to be a little bit on the firmer side back here, but especially in the lower cushion, there's a ton of padding and give to it. You just kind of sit back and relax. There's a nice amount of lower back support. I'd like a little bit of extra lumbar, but the overall design fits my body pretty well. I also like how the detailing up front carries on back here. You don't have any M logos embossed on the headrest or anything like that, but you do have all the tufted accents, the perforations, so it's very nice. The leather is super high quality. In the middle, you have a leather padded armrest with 2 cup holders. Otherwise, you can sit 3 people back here with an extra seat belt and an adjustable headrest for, well, extra head support. As far as amenities all the way around, there are LED reading lamps to either side, coat hooks, grip handles, Down below you have 2 air registers and the additional controls for the quad zone climate control, so you have fully independent adjustment for all 4 passengers. You don't have the individual zone adjustment for either of the rear passengers, but you do have temperature adjustment. There's one-touch automatic, fan speed, and heated seats for both of the outboard seats, and that's all located down below here. You have a little bit of storage down below, as well as 2 12-volt power outlets. The door storage pockets have a lot of space. There's water bottle holders, there's storage pockets on the back of the seats, and one of my favorite features are the B-pillar mounted air vents. So you not only have these down here, but you have 2 out here, so there's a lot of ventilation that gets back here, so everybody stays nice and circulated. Of course, side curtain airbags, the Alcantara headliner continues on back here and down the pillars. Blind spots aren't too bad really. There's little quarter windows back here. The D pillar is a little bit on the larger side, but it's not too big. The C pillar is nice and thin. Of course, the B pillars are nice and thin, so it's a pretty airy open vehicle. I especially like the panoramic glass roof. I mean, you have the big, large portion that moves up here, and there's a stationary piece of glass back here so the rear seat passengers can enjoy a little bit of sunlight. One other nice bit I'd like to point out, in addition to tinted glass all the way around for the rear seat passengers and the back glass in the cargo area, you also have these manual sunshades that you can extend and clip up top here for a little bit of extra privacy and or sun protection. But that's pretty much it. The build quality is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, everything is wrapped in leather. It's beautiful. Fantastic craftsmanship. So, let's go and check out the rest of the vehicle.
The X5 has a pretty unique split tailgate design. The upper portion is fully powered as standard, and to lower the bottom portion you have to grab a little handle and lower it down. As far as cargo space, behind the rear seat you have 35.8 cubic feet overall. It's a pretty wide opening, tall roof height, and it doesn't slope down too much, so you can pretty much take advantage of all the space that you see. If you fold down the rear seat, you can expand it quite a bit, actually more than double to 76.7 cubic feet. Also allowing for stowage of longer items. To the left hand side you have some additional storage, a little storage net, strap, and to the right hand side there's a small pocket in addition to a 12-volt power outlet. Here's a cargo privacy cover that you can pull back, but it is also removable, so again you can take advantage of that space. Your spare tire is located underneath the trunk floor and it's supported by a gas charged strut, so you don't have to worry about propping it open yourself.
The passenger seat features the same power adjustments that you find on the driver's seat. There's a locking glove box down below. Like the other side, the lower portion of the dash is entirely wrapped out of leather. It's lined in soft touch material. There's a storage net, a little storage strap back there, and illumination. Modest amount of space overall.
Being that they're essentially the same vehicles underneath, the X5 and X6 are quite a unique pair of SUVs. They offer buyers a distinct choice. Whether you prefer the practicality of an X5 or the standout styling of the X6, neither should disappoint. They blend excellent quality, powerful engines, not to mention refined and sporty road manners.
Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2015 BMW X5 M. Be sure to stay tuned next time. There's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.